So I'll be a hitchhiker in an Easter Bunny costume. Hop in. Where you headed?
BJ's Wholesale Club to do my Easter shopping. I have so many baskets to fill.
That costume is so lifelike. There's not even a zipper.
Oh, there's BJ's. I can hop out here.
Look at him go.
Get a $15 digital coupon when you spend $150 on practically anything in one transaction through April 20th. Coupon will appear in your digital gallery on April 24th. Terms apply. Go to bjs.com/Easter coupon for details. BJ's. Absurdly simple savings.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Welcome to the Football for Kids podcast with me, Darren Rees. It's time for another super special episode with yet another of the players who will be playing in this year's Soccer Aid match. I hope you enjoyed the episodes I did with Diamond and Tom Grennan. This week, you are going to be hearing from the hugely successful businessman, the mastermind, somebody who has one of the biggest podcasts in the world, and in my opinion, the best adults podcast in the world. It's Dragon's Den Dragon and all-round lovely man, Steven Bartlett. Steven will be representing England again this year, and if you remember last year's match, you'll know that Steven hit the back of the net not once, but twice. And my first question to him was this: Steven, last year you scored a cracker at Stamford Bridge, straight through former world champion boxer Tony Bellew's legs. He was furious. Stamford Bridge erupted, and it was a super special moment. You must have watched that back how many times?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. It was just unimaginable for me, to the point that it's so unimaginable and so surreal that it's almost like it didn't happen. So I had obviously my family here, I had my partner here, had lots of my team in the stadium, and you just never, obviously, when you're a kid and you're kicking the ball against the shed, you fantasize, like you drift off in your head and think one day there'll be a stadium and I'll be at Old Trafford and I'll put the ball in the back of the net. But part of you knows that the probability of you ever being in that situation is near zero. It's like 0.0000. The only way that it's going to ever happen really is if you're really unbelievably good at football or Soccer Aid call you. And for them to call me is improbable enough. But then for them to call me and then for them to put me on in the second half when Tony Bellew was a little bit knackered and everyone was a bit tired, and then for Jermaine Defoe to lay the ball into me like that, and it's all just so improbable that it almost feels just so surreal. But yeah, how many times have I watched that back? No comment. I've watched it a lot. It really just takes me back to that moment. And it's weird because you feel happy, not just for like the fact that you scored, you feel happy that all your friends and family and stuff who are watching wherever they are in the world, they feel good and they're celebrating. And I knew my girlfriend and my partner and my team and Sophie and my etc. who've been with me a long time were in the stadium somewhere happy. My driver was in the stadium, so it's just really nice for all of those people because they're kind of rooting for you, but I bet they're also a bit nervous that you might embarrass the family name.
Well, that was clearly a very special moment for Steven Bartlett. And like he said, he was once a kid just kicking a football up against a shed, wondering if he'd ever have the opportunity to do something so special. I then asked him about what followed after that Soccer Aid match, after scoring that wonderful goal. What was the reception from the public?
No, I was immediately traveling around the world thereafter, and I was just shocked that people who used to come up to me and say, "Oh, I like Dragon's Den," or "I like your podcast," whatever, for the next, I'd say, month or 2 months, everybody that came up to me, whether I was in the Middle East or in New York or wherever I was, they only wanted to talk about Soccer Aid. That's the only thing they wanted to talk to me about. It was wild. It was really crazy. So, coming back is a bit of a risk, isn't it? Because you're only as good as your last performance. So I should have just, but I love it so much. It's such a dream. So, yeah.
If you've been listening to the podcast for quite some time, you'll know that I supported Soccer Aid last year as well. And one of the things which I really loved and enjoyed being a part of so much was just seeing how happy everyone was. There was a genuine positive buzz everywhere you went. Characters from all walks of life and people who were successful in all sorts of different things seemed to come together and create this wonderful bubble of positivity. So I asked Steven, what is it about Soccer Aid which brings the good vibes?
I think this is the part that's often unappreciated or understated about Soccer Aid, is that there's several days before where we spend time together, and it is one of the best parts of the whole experience. The reason why the vibes are so good is because, of course, we're all competitive, but we're all doing something for a cause which we know. We're doing something we love for a cause that we know is going to have a tremendous impact on young kids' lives all around the world. So you think about like what makes an experience good for you. It being deeply rooted in purpose, doing it with people that you like, it being a bit of a challenge. These are all the like core components of an experience or a job or anything that makes you love it. And we have all of that at training at Soccer Aid. We're doing it for a great cause. We're surrounded by people who are wishing the best for us, even if they're on the opposite team. They are like mentoring us, especially when I was my first year at Soccer Aid. The pros on the other team and the stars on the other team were willing me to succeed. They were giving me advice. They were telling me, don't do that. You're going to injure yourself. And they were coaching me. So it's such a wonderful, supportive environment, and it's just so full of fun. And actually, where it gets a little bit tense and a bit nervous is when we get on that coach and we sit there for 2 hours on the way down to Old Trafford or, last year Stamford Bridge. So, yeah.
Now, my penultimate question to Steven was, last year you scored 2 goals. The first goal was amazing. The second goal maybe wasn't as aesthetically pleasing, as you kind of just pressurised the keeper and somehow the ball hit the back of a net. Nevertheless, you scored 2 goals. Do you have any objectives or goals that you're aiming for in this year's Soccer Aid match?
Yeah, funnily enough, from football people, like Steve McLaren texts me. And Steve McLaren texted me immediately after that goal, the second goal went in, and he said, your first goal was fine. He goes, but what I'm trying to get the lads at Man United to do is that second goal, which is just to like sprint at the ball and press it. And I preferred the second goal as well because Tony is so funny. He was very wound up because he thinks I handballed it. And so he went on like TalkSport like a week later to explain that it was in fact the handball. And so I slowed it down for him, and I think it hit my side. But no, it was just my favourite goal was the second goal because I think it showed more willingness and desperation to win. And actually, that's why I love Ahmed at Manchester United now, because I think like 7 of the goals we scored this year are the consequence of him just pressing really, really hard and really, really wanting to win. And we really wanted to win. There was a lot of stick that people don't see from like people like Patrice Evra, who had been like not mocking me, but he'd been ribbing me for about 4 or 5 months about changing teams. Because my first couple of years in Soccer Aid, I was World 11, and so to win was especially sweet.
Lastly, I asked Steven his opinion on why you and I should watch Soccer Aid and get involved and support the cause this year.
I just don't think there's anything like Soccer Aid. I don't think there's anything that comes close to the experience of watching these people who you might follow on TV or in media playing alongside some of the best players to ever play the game. It's an unbelievably unique experience. The halftime show is always incredible. You're never going to get to see something like that that's done in such good spirits as well. Well, it is competitive, but there's this undercurrent of it, of all of us knowing that this is fun, not to take life too seriously. And I almost don't, like last year Michael Essien like kicked me over. and we got up and had a hug and a laugh about it. Whereas in typical like Premier League or other sports, you don't get that. You don't get the fun in between, which I think makes it so special.
Well, there you go. That was the brilliant Steven Bartlett, who is a massive football fan and a huge Manchester United fan. He will be back at Soccer Aid this year on June 15th at Old Trafford. And you can get your tickets from socceraid.org.uk/tickets. The link is also in the description of this episode. A huge thanks to Steven for his time, and I hope that one day we can do something else on the podcast, because I know how much he cares for football and for the future. So remember, if you know somebody who loves football just as much as you do, then please tell them about Football for Kids. And whether you're playing football soon, watching it on the telly or pitch side, I hope that you enjoy the game. See you next time.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Football for Kids is proud to be supporting Soccer Aid for UNICEF 2025. Watch some of the biggest stars take to the pitch at Old Trafford on June 15th for yet another match which is set to be a classic. Tickets are available now via socceraid.org.uk/tickets.